Let's get it. My brother had a great saying when we were kids. Nobody can walk all over you unless you lay down for them first. In many cases, we're in relationships with people who take us for granted. They see our sacrifices, our gifts, the things that we are giving up to do for them as entitlements, as things that they're guaranteed, and an expectation of our particular behavior or adherence to their benefit or better well-being of life. As I'm watching The Sister Wives, that's one of the conflicts that I have with Meri and her character. Meri is presenting herself in a way where everything that she wants is something that somebody else has to give up. And she fully expects to get that thing. And if she doesn't get it, then all of a sudden it's a problem. And this may be from many years of how they've conducted their relationship. It could be scripted in or it could be made up or fictitious. I don't know. But I do know that many people are in this similar situation where they're in these relationships with people who take them for granted because they're quick to give. If they see somebody's hungry, they're quick to, break off some of what they're eating or, go hungry so that somebody else can eat or be thirsty because somebody else is thirsty. They're willing to do that. And part of that is the character of who they are. But unfortunately for those individuals, they aren't compatible with the person that they're with. Their generosity isn't compatible with the person that they spend their time with. And therefore, they're being taken advantage of. One of the things that I can point to in Sister Wives where Christine was clearly going to be taken advantage of was the question of the houses. Now, it's clear what was happening during this time. Meri believed that she wanted to have the best of the best house that she could possibly get, and she was trying to get as much as she could from this situation. They had moved from Utah where they were all under one roof, although living separate in this basic triplex, because even in the house in Utah, even though it was under one roof, it was 3 distinct apartments, and each of the wives were responsible for maintaining their apartment as though they're basically living separate. So they just happened to be in close proximity to one another, but they were living separately. When they get out to Vegas, they're all living apart, and now it's true form. They could live a mile apart from each other. And one of the things I noticed in one of the arguments or discussions that came up early was actually from Janelle, who had mentioned that it wasn't right that she had to share resources and go without things like food and resources for her kids because we were trying to be the same to each of the wives. But unfortunately, all the wives weren't in the same situation. Meri had 1 child to take care of. Janelle, Christine had 6 children to take care of. Robin at that time had 4 children to take care of. So it wasn't fair that they were diverting resources to Meri, that she was living in abundance when Christine, Janelle, and even Robin were living subpar for their households. That was ridiculous. And then when they started thinking about purchasing the homes, Meri, she wanted to have the best of this, the best of that. She had blown through the budget, and she was sitting there making the argument that I don't want to be in a house that I got to live in, and I can't be happy with what I got. At the end of the day, you should be happy with what you got because you just moved from basically an apartment to a rental home, and now you're having a home built. But that's still not good enough. And you still got to have better, and you have to have more, and you're expecting them to give in to you so that you can have more, because it's not like they were sitting on a ton of money and they had all these resources and she was just saying, well, look, I just want to spend the money we already have. She was in a situation as presented on the show. They had limited resources and you could only spend up to that limit. So if you were going to spend more than your limit, you were going to be taking from somebody else. And this is where we all have to take a look at ourselves, and it's okay to be generous. In fact, it's wonderful to be generous. If you're generous with the people that you love, your family, your friends, that's a wonderful thing, and that's to your credit, and that should be who you are. However, as you're being generous, there is a fine line between you being generous and you being a damn fool. And in this particular situation, Meri was sitting there trying to get as much as she could from the situation, But at the same time, the only way she could get more from the situation is if somebody relented. And Christine, in particular, had saved a ton of money because and gone without things in the house because she wanted one special thing that she wanted to do to the house. She wanted to put a brick facade in the front of the house so it has like bricks or whatever as an accent, and it'll be cute and look good. And that's what she really wanted, and that's what she was saving her money for. I'm sure Kody was aware that she was saving money and that she had this money, and he probably shared it with Meri. So when they went in order, quote unquote, Robin went first, then Meri went talking about you're over budget. Then Christine was going to go right after Meri. So Meri comes in, you're over budget. I'm so mad I'm over budget. I just want what I want. You can't tell me that I got to be shortchanged. I'm tired of your tone. Gets up, storms out. Then all of a sudden Christine comes in, and this is what they had to say. Let's take a look, and then we'll talk about it on the other side.
Christine has a ton of room left in her budget.
Really?
I do. I have a bucket of money, huge.
Can you loan that to another wife?
No, what? Really? Do I need to?
Christine has a ton of money. Could you imagine? I'd be like, shut up. You don't know who I'm dealing with, these sharks. Yeah, I'm swimming out here with these sharks and you throwing buckets of blood in the water. Are you nuts? Like, it's just the idea that he would even come out of his mouth to ask Christine for that, even though you're giving up. And even when we're talking about the house, Meri is sitting there saying, I want to have the wet bar and I want to have the pantry. But if you have those things, you have to have 5 rooms in the house. I don't care. I just want the wet bar. That's all I wanted in my life. So she just wanted a bigger house, basically. Christine decided to forego the wet bar, forego the pantry, even though she has more kids and she could use an extra room. She decided to not get those things because she wanted this other thing. And because she wanted this other thing, Kody and through Kody, Meri essentially tried to convince her to give up on that. And it's just a ridiculous situation. If you're in a situation like this, it's like being in a rowboat. As hard as you may row, if the person next to you isn't rowing just as hard and at the same pace or is rowing in a different direction, the only thing that's going to happen is you're going to go in circles. You aren't going to go anywhere. And you can work your ass off, but at the end of the day, they're working against you. Meri has consistently worked against the family. And that's how it's presented. If you're just there taking from somebody, is they're giving and they're giving and they're giving, and you're taking them for granted, you're taking their resources away, then you're not helping them, then there's nothing that you're contributing to that relationship, and that relationship in itself will fail. And the unfortunate part about it is when it fails, you'll sit there and think about all that you've given up and all you've done and how they should be thankful. And quiet as it's kept, most of the people that you're willing to sacrifice so much for won't even remember that you gave anything up. Here's something else that kind of struck me. When you think about how this all played out, even early on back in season 6, by the time you get to season 17, Kody changed a little bit, granted, but could you imagine a scenario where Christine has sat there and said, you know what, I got 6 kids, I'm ensuring how big heaven is going to be, I'm doing my part, so I should have the biggest, beautifulest house out of everybody, so I'm going to pick all the features that I want, and everybody just going to have to make sacrifices to give me what I want to have, etc., etc., etc. This is what I would imagine the conversation would be when Christine asked Meri to make sacrifices for her so that she could have all the things that she wanted in her house. Instead of Kody going back and asking Meri to make that sacrifice, this is probably how that conversation would have went.
You never tried to have a really good relationship with these other people. And that's the reason I'm pissed off. And it's just vomiting out of me because I've sat here with it just like Christine, try and do this.
The look.
Man, just the knife in the kidneys over all these years. And the sacrifices that I made
to love you. Wasted. It's so ridiculous. I'm going to take every opportunity I can to share that video because I love that scene. That's so ridiculous. This dude is going for an Oscar trying to get the daytime Emmy. My kidneys time I've spent wasted. Somebody told him that in order for you to make that point, man, you gotta enunciate them words. So ridiculous. At the end of the day, Meri, as the architect, co-architect of this family, wanted to make sure that this family stayed together. She should have made sure that she was making the sacrifices that she needed to make sure that the family could run efficiently, effective, and everybody in the relationship was benefiting, not just her. If you find yourself in a relationship where the only person is benefiting are the people that you're serving, you have to take a step back, because if you're constantly giving and giving and giving, and the other person is constantly taking, when it comes time for you to fall into need, and you need for them to take a moment, take time, take that second to give to you, find out what your problems are, make those sacrifices to make your life better, because they've been conditioned to constantly take from you and you have been the resource for them, then they will never see themselves in a position where they will want to take time to give to you. You are the resource. They are the recipient. These are the roles. And the longer you go with these established roles, the harder it will be for you to break these roles and or challenge these roles. If this situation happened and Christine would have came to the meeting and said, you know what? I got 6 kids. I only have 4 rooms. I need an extra room at least so I could put the youngest 2 in the same room and my older kids can have their own room. And if that happens, Meri, you have to give up something so that I can have the things that I want for my family, for my household. There's no way in the world Meri would even consider doing that. If you find yourself in this type of situation, you always have to take a step back and try to figure out whether this situation is feeding your soul, whether it's helping you, and whether it's benefiting you. You can't always be the sacrifice person, because even the person with the most abundant heart, the biggest heart, the most to give, eventually is going to need something. This is my take. I'm James. This has been my take on reality, and I'm out.
'Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side, PCA.